it's Tina and I am back, and as promised I am here with a full swatch and review video for my Inglot AMC Pure Pigment eyeshadows, and I also have their body pigment powders. So I'm gonna do a full swatch for you guys so you can see these pigments in all their glory. And I wanted to share these with you guys and do a full swatch fest because I don't really see many people featuring these pigments on their channels anymore, and I think they're overlooked because these are some real beauties. I'm gonna start out with the swatches since I know most people are here for the swatches, and it's gonna be a full-on swatch fest. So let's just jump right into it, and then right after I'll give you my thoughts and my review. The first shade up is number 23, which is a medium tone metallic silver shade. And this one applies nicely and it has a smooth texture compared to some of the other textures that you will see. Here is shade 24, which is more of a chunky, flaky texture. And this one you do have to press quite a bit to get the flakes to smoothly apply to your skin. And the best way to use this kind of pigment is to use it damp, since it does flake quite a bit and it does get really messy. And this one is a deep golden bronze shade. I added some Smashbox primer water to my brush to apply some more of the pigment so you can see how it applies a little bit more smoothly when it's used damp. So definitely use this one with a little bit of a mix-in medium or a very tacky base to get better application and a better overall performance from these flaky pigments. The next shade up is number 28, which is a burnt orange shade. And this one is not a bold in-your-face orange tone. It makes a very wearable orange, and in fact that would work really great as a blush or as a highlight shade on darker skin tone on the skin. So remember, you can use these as eyeshadows, but you can also use them on different parts of the skin and on the face. Next we have this bright goldenrod yellow shade. This one is definitely a bold yellow with a lot of yellow gold undertone to it. It's a really beautiful bold yellow shade, but again, it's almost downplayed to the part where you can get away with using this bold yellow gold shade without being overbearing. Next we have shade number 30, which is one of their pearlescent shades. This one is a white gold shade. It is beautiful. It's a white base, but it has that bright yellow gold to it. It's really beautiful as an inner tear duct highlight, and again also as a highlight on the skin. And then we have shade number 33, which is a deep shimmery purple shade. This one is a beautiful deep smoky purple. It actually works really great for a deep purple smoky eye. As you can see, it still is a very rich deep purple, but it does have that pop of bright color, so it would work great if you wanted to do that kind of smoky eye with an interesting color. Next we have number 34, which is a beautiful purple tone pink. It is a gorgeous pink shade with a purple reflection to it. I think the shade is gorgeous, and it would also work well as a blush, believe it or not. We're finding multiple purposes for these pigments. Then we have another one of those flaky shades. This is number 35, and this is a dirty lavender purple with a golden base, and I'm applying it a little bit damp so you can see a better color payoff from it, since applying it dry gives that overly flaky effect. And this one is a really interesting color because again, it has that dirty lavender purple base with a golden reflection. And then another one of those flaky shades is number 37, again applying it damp. This one is a dirty vintage gold shade. It has an olivey undertone, and as you apply it damp, it gives this foiled effect. It's another one of those really beautiful, interesting shades. I actually really like the flaky shades. Even though they can get messy, I still enjoy applying them damp and getting that foiled effect from them. So again, here are those shades swatched. And I really do like the flaky shades, even though they're a little bit messier and they do take some work and you do have to apply them damp. I think the foiled effect that they give is really beautiful and they make them really unique. And the other shades are also gorgeous. You have a bold silver, you have some colorful shades. I really love that dark purple. And then here are those foiled ones that I also really love. This is shade 41, which is a rich chocolatey brown shade with a bit of a sheen to it. Oh my god, it's so pigmented and so beautiful and applied really smoothly. Then we have shade number 42, which is a beautiful golden yellow shade with a green reflection. It is so beautiful and so unique. It's a really, really different shade. I really love that, and it applied smoothly with great pigmentation. Here we have shade number 43, which is a bright lime green shade, and this one has a little bit of a yellow gold sheen to it. It's also a very, very gorgeous shade and very smooth, applies well and builds up really great in pigmentation. Next we have number 45, which is another one of those pearlescent shades. It's a white base with a neon green reflection and even a little bit of a slight pink shift to it. Really, really unique again and really beautiful. Here we have shade number 47, which is a medium toned purple shade. This one reminds me of what a grape purple would look like. It's a really beautiful purple shade, nothing too unique about it, it's just a medium toned purple. It's really smooth as well and applies nicely. Then we have shade number 49, which is a gunmetal deep silver shade. This one is one of those rich dark silver shades that work well for smoky eyes. So if you're into darker silvers, here's one for you. And then we have another flaky shade. This is number 50. This one is more of a cranberry pinky base with a yellow gold sheen to it. And I'm applying that damp again just to show how it would apply if you use the damp brush, because I think you do need to use a damp brush with these. And again, because they're gold flakes to the shade, it's gonna give you a duochrome foiled effect. And I actually really like how interesting this one is as well. And then last up we have the shade 51, which is a medium tone kind of latte brown shade. It's really beautiful, works great for a neutral eye. It is shimmery, so it's gonna give that beautiful effect, but it's still gonna remain nice and subtle looking. So again, here are all those shades swatched. Again, a beautiful selection of colors. I really love that deep, dark brown shade, the first shade. The second shade next to it is really unique as well as that fourth shade, which is a duochrome kind of pearlescent shade. And then the flaky shade is also very gorgeous. Moving on, the next shade we have is number 58, and oh my god, look at that. Isn't that a gorgeous ocean blue shade? It's so pigmented, it's so gorgeous, it applies so smoothly. It's just love, and I love blue, so that's perfect for me. Then we have shade number 63, which is another flaky shade, and again, applying it damp. This one is more of a coppery bronze shade, so it has a lot more orange to it. It's a beautiful shade again, and you have to apply it damp to get this foiled effect, but it's truly beautiful. I love the flaky shades. Again, it's just that they take a lot more work. Then we have shade number 66, which is a pinky red shade. This one is more of a cherry red base with a pinky iridescence to it, and it even has a little bit of an orangey glow to it as well. And then we have shade number 69, and don't judge me when I get giddy about that number, but this one is an olivey tone vintage gold shade, and it applies well and builds up smoothly. And then we have shade number 70, which is a gorgeous teal shade. It's really beautiful, and I love this shade a lot. It's a really in-your-face bright teal shade. And then this is shade number 71, which is more of an ocean mermaidy shade. It's a teal with a lot of blue to it and golden undertone. This one is gorgeous as well, and it's beautiful and shimmery. Then we have shade number 74, which is a lavender purple shade with a little bit of a silver reflect to it. It's a really beautiful lavender shade, so if you've been looking for a lavender pigment, this one is actually a really pretty one. And then last up we have another one of the pearlescent shades. This one is number 75, and this one is almost like a true frosted white shade. There's no real different color undertone to it. If any, it's more of a silver undertone. It's like a white frosty shade. Again, another beautiful shade for a highlight, inner tear duct highlight. It's gonna really bring that intense shine to any part of your look. And here are those shades swatched. It's another set of gorgeous shades, especially that blue Can You Even and that coppery bronze flaky shade. Even though it takes a little bit more work, it's super beautiful. And that duochrome ocean blue shade, this teal shade here, is really gorgeous, along with this lavender shade. These are just really pretty shades. Of course, all the shades are beautiful, but you would select based on which colors call out to you. But this blue though, this blue, this, oh my word. Next up is shade number 77, which is a bright yellow gold shade. This one is smooth and it applies almost like a foiled shadow, and this is without using it damp. So if you wanted to amp up the foiled effect, just use it damp. Next up is shade number 81, which is a very interesting shade. It's a cranberry color with a strong coppery undertone to it. It's really beautiful. This one, be mindful, it can kind of get chunky on you, so just blend it out. But if you use this damp, I'm telling you, you're gonna get a beautiful foiled effect. Just look at that, and that's without using it damp. Then we have another flaky shade. This is number 82. And this one is a pinky shade with an olive gold undertone to it. And again, I'm using it damp because that's just the best way to apply these. And you do get that duochrome cranberry and olive undertone. And you do get the duochrome of pink and olivey gold. This one took a little bit more work to smooth it out, but there you can see it's just a shimmery golden cranberry shade. Here we have shade number 84, which is a dirty red and brown base with a greeny reflex. And you've seen similar shades to this all over the place where they have a red-brown base with a green reflection. This one is one of those shades, and it's really beautiful, and it builds up really nicely, and it really shimmers and shines. And this one is similar to other shades you've seen before as well. This is number 85. It's kind of a purpley brown base with a turquoise or very shimmery light teal reflection to it. It's similar to blue-brown pigment from MAC, those kinds of pigments. So you have green-brown and blue-brown, and these are similar. Really beautiful shades in case you were interested. And then we have shade 111, which is a very interesting and very beautiful shade. This is a light lilac pink shade with a yellow duochrome to it. Really beautiful shade. It's a little bit chunkier, so you do have to be careful to smooth it out. But you can see it's like a lavender pink, and then it has this golden duochrome to it. It's a gorgeous and very unique shade. Then this shade is 112, which is a shimmery, bright lavender purple shade. And it really reflects and shines more than the other lavender that we did before. This one's a little bit more bright and in your face, almost like a black light effect, because it does almost glow on your skin. So the next set of shades are all flaky shades, so we're gonna do our best to swatch them. I'm gonna swatch them with a denser point brush. This is the e.l.f. contour brush. The first shade up is number 114, and this is a shimmery, beautiful kind of sky blue shade with silver reflections. It is really gorgeous, and this brush is helping it to swatch a lot better, so definitely use a stiffer brush. I'm not using these damp, I'm applying them dry. Then we have shade 115, which is a peachy gold shade. It's a very light peach shade with golden reflections. This one is really gorgeous, and it looks really foiled and beautiful. Then we have shade 116, which is a really rich olive bronze base with some pinky reflections. This one is really beautiful, and it applies very smoothly. It's not overly flaky like the other two. Then we have shade 117, which is a turquoise blue shade with a purpley light lavender base. It's a very unique shade. I haven't seen a shade like this before, and it gives it a really unique dimension. Really gorgeous shade. Then we have shade 118, which is a pearlescent shade. It's a very light peach, almost white base with a light gold reflection to it. Then we have shade 119, which is a medium toned kind of brownie beige shade with a pink duochrome. This one is also very unique. It's very gorgeous, and it's almost like a neutral tone, but it gives such a beautiful foiled effect. It's really gorgeous. And then the final shade is 120, which is a rusty coppery base with a purpley reflection to it. This one is also a very unique shade. I've never seen another shade like this. It's really gorgeous. It's like a red copper base, and then you have that purple. It doesn't look like anything else I've seen on the market. The next shades up are the body pigments, and they're all matte in finish. So if you're looking for matte pigments, this is where you would look. Again, these are body pigments, so some of them might not be suitable for eye use because of the color additives in the formula. Some of them haven't been passed by the FDA for safe use around the eyes, so be careful, approach with caution. But we're gonna start out with shade number 35, which is the matte white of the collection. I actually really like this pigment. It does apply really opaquely, and it applies very well and builds up really nicely. Next up we have shade 152, which is a matte lime green shade. It will darken up a bit where it hits moisture, so if you have a moist primer on, it's gonna apply a little bit darker than a lime green. The next shade is 149, which is a matte mustard yellow shade. Again, this one will darken up a bit as it hits moisture, so just be careful with it. It doesn't apply as opaquely as I would like. You do have to build it up quite a bit to get the full color payoff. The next shade up is 126, which is a bright neon pinky coral shade. It's a really intense and in-your-face shade. It's really gorgeous. Next up we have shade 121, which is a deep eggplant purple shade. I really love this shade. It's rich and it's pigmented, and it's really a bold, intense color, and it has a lot of depth to it, which I really love about it. Then we have shade 86, which is a deep rusty brick orange shade. This one is really gorgeous as well, but be careful, it does darken up quite a bit on moisture, so you're gonna get a deeper, darker shade as you apply it over an eyeshadow base or primer. As you can see, the edges of the color has darkened up quite a bit, but it's this deep, dark, rusty orange shade. Then we have shade 71, which is a beautiful cobalt blue shade. It has a hint of purple to it, but it's a blue shade. It's just really beautiful. It has this great merge of lavender purple and light sky blue. It's just so gorgeous. A really interesting and different shade. Then we have shade 153, which is a matte green teal shade. This one is also very beautiful, nicely pigmented. It applies very nicely as well. And then last up in these shades we have 156, which is this bright cerulean blue shade. It's so gorgeous and so beautiful. It's one of my favorite pigments from Inglot, and it's one that I fell in love with, and it made me get all the other body pigments. It's such a rich, vibrant, in-your-face blue. It's really gorgeous, and it applies really well, really smoothly, and it applies like that on the eyes as well, and I used it in a tutorial. It's just really gorgeous. And again, here are those pigments swatched. They're really in-your-face, bold, matte shades, and they do take a little work because they are matte shades, and you do have to be careful that you don't have too much moisture from your primer because they will cling to it and darken up. But oh my god, tell me that these aren't gorgeous to look at, and they're worth the work to get them to look as intense as they can. Next we have the shade 171, which is a muted rosy pink shade. Really beautiful matte color, and it shows up really well on the skin. Then we have shade 171, which is a neon tangerine orange shade. I love this shade as well. It's really bold and in your face, but it's almost a subtle tangerine because it's not too intense or too bold. It's just like the right amount of neon, if that makes any sense. Then we have shade 202, which is a beautiful, like full force violet shade. It's a beautiful blue tone purple. It's really intense, really in your face, and really pigmented. It's just a really gorgeous blue tone purple. And then next to that we have 214, which is a bright neon magenta pink shade. This one is definitely an in-your-face bright pink shade. Next we have shade 237, which is a very bright sunshine yellow shade. This one is intense and in your face, but it applies a little bit more sheerly, so you do have to build it up and pack it on to get that full color payoff. This one's not my favorite yellow color at all. Yellow is a little bit tricky to do, and this one, it doesn't apply as intensely as I would like. Then we have shade 253, which is a deep, dark eggplant purple shade. It's a really richly pigmented, really gorgeous dark purple. I actually really love this shade as well. I love it so much I got it twice. And then last up we have the matte black of the collection, which is number 294. And it's just a rich matte black shade. It's a really pigmented, it doesn't come off gray or charcoal. It's just a really intense black shade. And again, here are those shades. All of them are pigmented except for that yellow shade, which is a little bit tricky. It doesn't really build up as well as I would like. You can definitely make it work, but it's not like the easiest color to work with. All the other shades are just really boldly pigmented. Look at that really rich dark purple. Isn't it gorgeous? Oh my goodness. And these shades are just beautiful. If you're looking for some neon pops of color, here you have it. These are matte and just bold and bright and in your face. Alright guys, so now that you've seen the swatches, and I think some of you might be drooling a little bit, let's go ahead and jump into the review. And as usual, the first thing I like to discuss is the price. Now these bad boys are priced at $16 and they contain 2 grams of product for the AMC Pure Pigment eyeshadows and then 1 gram of product for the body pigment powders. I wanted to note that 2 grams of product is not a lot when compared against other brands on the market. 2 grams of product, while it may be a lot of product to go through and you'll probably never go through a full pigment, price-wise, it's a fair price at $16 and you think, oh, it's $16, but you aren't getting as much product as you think compared to other brands on the market. For instance, the MAC Pigments in these little jars, this is 4.5 grams of product. So it's more than double the Inglot Pigments, and these are $22. So you're paying $6 more, you get more than double the amount of pigment in these little jars. Now I mentioned MAC because MAC makes up the biggest part of my pigment collection, and most people do collect MAC pigments. So that's why I use them for reference. But there are quite a lot of other pigment manufacturers on the market. You have Makeup Forever, they have pure pigments that are pure pigment matte colors, and they have their star powders, which are more of the shimmery kind. You also have Sugar Pill, which has some great pigments as well. So there are quite a few on the market. And a lot of these brands do have that 5 gram net weight for their pigments. So you're getting quite a lot of product. And these kind of fall on the lower side of the spectrum. However, you are spending $16, so it's not quite the $20 price range. These to me are priced closer to the indie brands on the market that have pigments available, and they're a little bit less than $20. Some of them are $18, some are $14, $12, you know, that price range. So these are a decent price range. And to be honest, 2 grams of product is still quite a lot because you're never gonna go through it at all. So I think it's a decent price point. It just depends on what you feel comfortable paying for a loose pigment such as these. Now let's go ahead and look at the packaging. It's a really simple, basic packaging at first. You're looking at it like, oh, that's nothing. And it really isn't. It's just a clear, hard plastic jar with a screw-on black cap. And it has Inglot printed on the side. And then on the bottom there is a black and white label that has the pigment number, because they don't use names at all, they use numbers, which kind of frustrates me because I love having names for my products. But they have a number, the description of the product, and then the sizing and the manufacturing information. And then you just unscrew the jar and the pigment lays inside. There is no sifter, there is no in between, it's just straight to the pigment. A lot of people might have trouble with that. They prefer to have a sifter. Honestly, through using these, I found that that is not an issue. These don't even get that messy as you would think. Because of the density of the product itself, the pigment, it doesn't go flying all over the place into Never Never Land and make a complete mess. They're actually pretty easy to use without making a mess. They stick to the jar, the particles stick to each other. So I actually find the packaging quite simple, quite substantial, and it actually is very functional as well. So I really like the packaging, and they look so pretty lined up in their little drawer. Isn't that pretty? I just think they're really beautiful, and the plastic itself is really hardcore sturdy plastic, so it's not gonna break or crack easily. I just think the packaging overall works out, and you can even just use the pigment from the little cap. Just press your brush into that pigment to really pick up the product. So I personally like the packaging. Now let's go ahead and talk about the actual product and the performance. And I must preface this by saying these are loose pigments. So anything you've heard about loose pigments, that they're messy, they're difficult to work with, just keep that in mind when you're considering these pigments. They are loose pigments, and it kind of comes with the territory. They are gonna be messier, they're gonna be more difficult to work with than a pressed product. And that's just the nature of the product. Now, I personally find these pigments pretty nice to work with. The body pigments, the matte version, are really beautiful. They're really pigmented and they apply like a dream, but you do need to use a very good primer for these. And I recommend using a very dense brush and using tapping motions rather than sweeping, buffing motions to apply these. And I would recommend that for any loose eyeshadow or loose pigment. That is just how you would apply them to get the best result. Use tapping, pressing motions and a good primer to really get the product to adhere to the skin without flying all over the place. And practice makes perfect. The better your brush, the better your technique, the better these will work for you. So if you're using a really like floppy brush that's gonna be blending things all over the place, expect more fallout and more product to go flying all over the place. But if you use a dense brush, like a dense pencil brush or a dense shader brush, these are gonna pack onto the lid a lot better. And if you use pressing motions, of course, they're gonna apply a lot better. So it's all about your technique and the brushes that you're gonna use. That's gonna determine how these work for you, as well as your primer. I use, again, a stiff brush. The Kat Von D Shade and Light Eye Brush is so perfect for these. And I also like my little synthetic brush from Rite Aid. I think any brush with really dense bristles will work great for these. And if you're using a fluffy brush, say you're gonna sweep this in the crease, just tap off the excess, just like you would a pressed eyeshadow. Really try to push the product into the bristles, tap off the excess, and just go for it. They work really well for me. I really don't have too many problems with these, except for the flaky shades. Now, the flaky shades, they are gorgeous and they are so beautiful. They have multi-dimensions and they're just so pretty. But they give the most trouble as far as fallout goes. They are fallout prone and they go all over the place. Now, I recommend using these with a dampened brush. So just use like a little primer water. You can use Fix Plus. Just get your brush slightly damp. Don't wet your brush too much. Get it slightly damp and just mix the pigment in the lid of the jar, and then get a little paste and apply it to your lids and blend it out that way. You don't even have to really use too much of the pigments, and use a dense brush again. The denser the brush, the better these pigments are gonna work for you. But the flaky ones do have a lot of fallout. So if you're gonna get these, because I know they're gorgeous and like who wouldn't want them, they're really pretty, but just be mindful they're gonna be a mess. Now in the jars they don't make a mess, but just going on the lids you're gonna see like little sparkles just going all over the place, and maybe that works for you. Looks like Tinkerbell and you're having a good time, and it's okay. And you know what? They're really not that big a deal for me. I just do my eyes first, followed by my foundation, which I normally do anyway. And if you're in doubt, you can use something like a shadow shield or place powder under your eyes to catch the fallout. Whatever works for you to really work with fallout prone eyeshadows, I would use for these as well. But overall, I do think they're beautiful. I think they have some gorgeous shades that are so worth checking out. And the price point, while you're not getting a ton of product, you're never gonna go through one of these pigments. Except for maybe the body pigments, where I have one. They're sold by weight and not volume. So the volume will vary, but the weight is still the same. The body pigments you can get a little bit of it in there and you're like, what the hell is this? There's only one body pigment that I was like, what the hell is this? And that was the number 86, the orangey shade, which looks like nothing at the bottom of this. So just be mindful of that. These are sold by weight, not volume, and they do emphasize that on the packaging, on the website, just everywhere. They want you to know they are packaged by weight, not volume. And these flaky shades, you actually get a lot of product. You get it all the way filled up to the brim. So these are lighter pigments, hence the fallout and flaky everywhere mess. But hopefully this video was helpful for you guys. Hopefully the swatches were helpful to see if these are products that you want to check out. If you've checked them out, let me know. If you're interested, also let me know. And if you just want to say hi, yeah, leave it down below also in the comments. And as usual, I'll leave information below to where you can pick these up. They are available on inglotusa.com for those in the US, and also at Macy's online, and also in a few select Macy's stores where they do have the Inglot gondola setup, and you can find various Inglot products as well on Macy's.com as well as the Inglot store. So I'll leave the links below so you can check that out. And until my next video, which will be very soon, I'll talk to you. Bye guys.